So, Chris, you've written this wonderful book, Age Out Loud. What prompted you to write this?
Well, I had kind of been toying with the idea of writing a book for a number of years. I had an outline presented to me for a more hands-on kind of aging in place book that talked more about the different types of modifications and things that could be done. And so I thought about that, but it always seemed like really a lot of work. And then this resistance that we've talked about, just more and more time spent on that, and just thinking that, man, if I could just get people to change their mindset about some of these things, I think it would make the process a lot easier. And then when Barbara died, and she was 55, and several things happened in my mind and in my as I went through the aftermath and the emotions and the wondering what my purpose was, and just realizing how short life is, and realizing that I wanted to squeeze as much life out of every day that I have left on this planet as possible. And that kind of pushed me to, really get serious about writing the book. And then as I researched and as I explored, what is it exactly that I'm going to say, I learned so much about mindset and about how we process, difficult times as well as good times. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I used to always say that really did acquire its full perspective until after I lost Barbara was that when the sun is shining and there's money in the bank and everybody's healthy, we don't learn very much. It's very enjoyable. Mm-hmm. Life feels good, but we're not growing. And it's in the dry and the arid places. It's in the challenging places. It's in the struggle and the suffering that we are refined like gold in a furnace. And we become the people that we need to be to take on the next challenge and the next adventure that we are coming to. And when we look at it that way, it changes everything, because we look at how is this helping me? Because not everything that feels good is helpful, and not everything that feels bad is harmful. And it's usually in retrospect, when we look back on seasons of our life, that we realize what the outcome of that season was. And one of the things that happened to me, and it's in the book, is months after Barbara died, and I'm walking by the river, just feeling sorry for myself. And suddenly I had a memory. I remembered that 33 years prior, right after we got married, she was diagnosed with encephalitis, and she went in the hospital, and she lost her vision, and she lost her speech, and she had seizures, and it was not looking real good. And if someone had told me at that time, oh, she's not going to die, she's going to live 33 more years, and you're going to have 3 more children together, I would have been ecstatic. And so I realized I had a choice. I could choose to be broken and distraught and melt into a puddle on the floor and stay there because she died at 55. Or I could be ecstatic for the 33 years we had together.
What a great mindset.
And that choice gave me power. I realized that I had the power to reframe this horrible thing that I had been through and how I framed it would be the effect that it had on me. And really, that choice is the only ultimate choice that all of us have. We all have the power to choose which aspect of any event we focus on. I'm reminded of Alexander Solzhenitsyn in the Gulag Archipelago when he talked about being in the Soviet prison. And he said the prisoners were the only ones who were free, because the prisoners could speak their minds freely because they were already in prison.
Mm-hmm.
What did they have to lose? Whereas the guards and the Soviet citizens and, even the members of the Politburo could be seized and swept away for thinking a thought or speaking an opinion that was not popular with the powers that be. And that idea that the prisoners were the only ones who were free, freedom is in our minds. Freedom is in our mindset. And then there's other stories of Holocaust survivors, and I can't recall any of those at the moment. But the same kind of thought, and recognizing that mindset as it applies to aging, but really as it applies to everything, is something that we have the power to choose. And we have the power to completely transform our experience of life by our perception of events that happen to us. And since then, I see it so much more clearly. I see people, and so many people tragically are walking around defeated simply because they have chosen to believe that they're defeated. And many of them will argue quite vehemently for their prison and will fight you if you try to explain to them that they have the power to walk out free. But that doesn't change the fact that they can be free. And so with regard to aging, I think there's so many people who believe that they're too old to do this or too old to do that. And I'm reminded of the story of Grandma Gatewood, who at 67, after decades of a very abusive marriage, put on her kids' sneakers, and with a shower curtain for a shelter, she set out and hiked the Appalachian Trail. And she was the first woman to do so. And I'm pretty sure she was the first person ever to do it twice or three times in a row. I'm not sure about that part. But she told her children that she was going for a walk. And there are multitudes of stories like that. In the research for my book, we all know about Grandma Moses. She took up painting at 76 or 78 and painted every day for 25 years. And Colonel Sanders, who started Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Late in life.
He was in his and I believe the story was he got his first Social Security check and looked at the amount and said, well, this isn't going to work. And the only real asset that he had was his chicken recipe. And as far as I know, the story I heard was that he was told 1,000 times, and all he did was go around to restaurants and said, I'll let you use my recipe if you'll pay me a commission on every piece of chicken you sell. And 1,000 people said, no, I'm not doing that. And finally, somebody said no, and he built an empire. And so just dozens of stories of people who decided not to let the societal construct of decline in later life be their story.
And what a great thing that we should share with children and young adults, that children take up after whatever we do. So if we're somebody that's in a bad mood, or we yell at, creditors on the phone or whatever it might be, children pay attention. We don't, I think, especially as we were young parents, we didn't really fully understand that. I certainly didn't.
Yeah. No,
And but if we could have a positive outlook on whatever it is, even when you have a bad day, or you lose your job, or somebody dies, or whatever it is that makes a bad day for you, if we can approach that with a positive attitude, I would hope that our children would see that, and they would be able to have that positive attitude.
I wrote a Substack column recently called "You're Having a Bad Day? Are you
Yes.
sure?"
Yeah.
Because we can have a difficult day.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean it's a bad day. I mean, if you wake up and you're breathing and you're open your eyes and you can see, how can you have a bad day? Even if you open your eyes and you can't see, you're alive. Not everybody that went to bed last night woke up this morning. And again, it's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's mindset. Find things to be thankful for, because gratitude is such a superpower. Because if we focus on what we're grateful for, we will open our awareness to receive more things that we can be grateful for. But if we focus on things to complain about, our awareness will shift to all the things we find to complain about.
Mm-hmm. And we've certainly met lots of people like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Throughout life.
Yeah.
And we will continue to.
Yeah. Definitely.
The negative Nellies, as we used to call them. Okay.